Today on Mormon Times, we talk more than just basketball with BYU star Jimmer Fredette.
Do you see your talent as God-given?
Yeah, I definitely believe that.
Angel Watch, an agency for grieving parents.
We had wonderful families, and we were okay, but they were able. I mean, we always say, we wrote in Maverick's obituary that they were our angels, our real-life angels.
And author Brad Wilcox talks about the greatest gift of all, the atonement. Good morning and welcome to Mormon Times. I'm Kathy Aiken. He's known by just one name, Jimmer, a name that's created quite a sensation around the college basketball world this season. But Jimmer told me recently basketball is not the most important thing in his life. He also treasures the gospel and his testimony. They call it Jimmer Mania, and it's spread throughout the world of college basketball.
Now Jimmer sizing up Haas. Oh, no. Oh, yes! Oh, yes!
The 22-year-old from Glens Falls, New York, has led BYU to its best ranking in over 2 decades. Once a young boy who started by shooting baskets in his driveway, has become a young man, now considered by many as the top college player in the country.
Jimmer from 40 feet! Got it! He got it!
With his incredible fame also comes questions about his faith. Jimmer was raised by his father, a convert to the church, and his mother, who was Catholic.
But the thing was, my mom wasn't really, too devout of a Catholic. But once she, married my dad, she started to go to the Mormon church more. But yeah, we always attended the Mormon church, and it was fun for us. It was a good atmosphere, and I loved it as a kid.
Jimmer grew up the youngest of 3 siblings, with sister Lindsay and brother TJ. While TJ helped him with his game, Jimmer credits the gospel for shaping his life.
It just helps you through so many times, gives you tons of blessings, if you follow, what you're supposed to be doing in the gospel, and try to just be a good person and do all these great things, that the gospel can teach.
Do you see your talent as God-given?
It definitely starts there. It starts as a God-given talent, and I think it's up to you to do the best that you can in it, whatever it is. Mine happens to be athletics and basketball. A lot of people are good at piano and music or whatever it is. I believe that he gives you that talent, and then it's your job to do the best you can to make it flourish.
I read an article where someone proclaimed you the greatest Mormon missionary in the world.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts when you hear that?
That's great. That's more important to me than being a good basketball player. I realize that basketball is great, and it's a great tool to be able to maybe, be a missionary for, our church. I love our church, and if that's the case, then that's great. I hope I can get the word out there as much as I can. I know that, basketball will only be here for so long, but the gospel and, your family and the relationships you have will be there for, all eternity, and that's what I'm focused on, and I'm glad that I can help.
So how do you see it shaping your life in the future, speaking of the gospel?
Hopefully I'll be able to get married and, have a great family, great wife with kids, be able to get married in the temple, and hopefully, we believe, be with them for the rest of our lives. With all of our families, that'll be the most important thing. And then also just to have my kids, grow up in the church in a great surrounding. I know that it really helped me in my life with a lot of different situations, just to know that, some things aren't, tough times are going to happen. And if you have the church to fall back on, it doesn't seem as tough. And that's important for, myself and for my family and my children, especially to know, so that they can grow up like that.
And Greg Wrubell, voice of the BYU Cougars, joins us now via Skype. And Greg, I know you've covered Jimmer his entire career at BYU. He comes across so humble. Is he as genuine as he seems?
He really is, Kathy. And I recall meeting Jimmer for the first time when he was still a high school student and came to BYU on a recruiting trip. And I was struck just by how average and normal the guy seemed. Very friendly, very affable. But no real persona that would make you say, well, there's a star player. And throughout his entire BYU career, even as a freshman, when he was a backup to some senior guards there, he was a great teammate, very likable, someone that really, I think, showed early that he could be both a special player and a humble player and a likable player. Other opponents have spoken about how much they respect Jimmer, how he's tough to dislike because he's such a good guy. And there's no doubt about it. When he's on the floor, he's intense, he's competitive, he's hard-driven, but off the floor, he is, he's everybody's All-American in a way. He's just that nice.
He's really become a great missionary for the church, bringing such positive publicity to the church. Have you heard that from the national press?
Well, I know when he's on national interviews and they take the occasion to bring up his background religiously, and he's free to speak about it, speaks about it well. He's eloquent about it. He makes it come across in a way that people can relate to, and people can understand where he's coming from when he talks about the role of his faith in his life.
Great. Greg Wrubell, play-by-play voice for the BYU Cougars. Greg, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
My pleasure, Kathy.
Coming up next, miracles aren't always what we expect.
We feel that's kind of the miracle in this whole thing, is that we were expecting a 20-week pregnancy with a stillborn child, and we made it full term, and we had over 2 hours with him.